Good morning. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what are perhaps the 6 most dreaded words in the English language. And I'm going to do so through a story about the human brain and a young boy named Julian. Well, first a little bit about the human brain. Robert Frost once said that the human brain is an awesome organ because it starts to work the moment we get up in the morning, and it doesn't stop working until we get to the office. All kidding aside, the human brain is a masterful organ, and it comprises about 2% of our body weight, yet it receives over 20% of our cardiac output. It has over 100 billion neurons in it and also 100 billion astrocytes. We now know through a number of brain mapping procedures that the front part of the brain controls intelligence. At the top we have motor and sensory. At the back we have vision. On the side we have memory and concentration, also language. At the back again we have coordination efforts. Over the years what we've learned about the brain is quite extraordinary when we look at brain imaging. Starting from skull x-rays in the 1900s to cerebral angiography in the 1920s, then going to CT scan and MRI scanning in the 1970s. We can now see the brain with software programs that allow us to visualize the exquisite detail of the human brain. In fact, you can sit in an MRI scanner now, you can tap your toe, and we can identify the toe tapping region of the brain. In addition, you can speak in an MRI scanner, and the language part of your brain will light up and we can identify that. We can also identify some memories in the brain. So take, for example, a memory like the Toronto Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup. Not a good choice. It's been a long time, so it would be a very remote memory, a very small part of your brain that would light up. Well, let's talk about, that's normal brain. Let's talk about the situation when the brain malfunctions and what happens to the brain. The brain responds in various stereotypical ways. And I'm listing some of these ways for you here. But basically you can have seizures, weakness, trauma, tremor, dementia, coordination impairments, and headache. All of us have headaches at some point in our lives. It's not to be concerned. But if you have headaches in conjunction with this finding, which is called papilledema, papilledema means a telltale sign when a doctor looks through your eyes in the office and sees the retinal background, which is what the backdrop to this slide is. Papilledema informs the doctor that there's raised brain or raised intracranial pressure. So headache in conjunction with papilledema is a problem. It's a major problem and one that we're concerned about. And just for your interest, on the bottom left slide, you can see what the normal retina looks like with the bright yellow sun appearing optic disc in the middle, and it's absent in the context of papilledema that you see there. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit now about Julian. So Julian was a young boy, age 8, when I first had an opportunity to meet him at Sick Kids Hospital. He had a very brief history of headaches and vomiting. He also was uncoordinated. And finally, he had that telltale sign of papilledema. So we were concerned. He had an MRI scan that was done at the Hospital for Sick Children, and the arrows on the MRI scan point for you to look at a mass lesion that's there that was taking up space, causing the pressure, and that was a brain tumor. So I had to go and speak to the family and deliver the 6 most dreaded words in the English language: your child has a brain tumor. And instantaneously, simultaneously, those parents and the child embark on a roller coaster ride almost like no other. Tremendous number of ups and downs, uncertainties, and challenges that they face along this very long road. The road begins at first with surgery, where a surgeon would remove the tumor, provide specimens that would then go to the pathologist. The pathologist then would make the diagnosis of the tumor, and then other treatments would be embarked upon, including chemotherapy and radiation therapy, depending on what type of a tumor was found. Let's go back now a little bit more about Julian. So Julian had complete removal of his tumor, and that put him in a very good category in terms of his recovery from his tumor. Unfortunately, the bad news was his tumor was called a medulloblastoma, which is a cancer. I think all of us in this room have either met someone, know someone who has had cancer or is going through the ordeal of having cancer. So cancer is a very feared diagnosis. As this video clip depicts, what you see is that cancer exists in our genes, and what happens is that a number of cellular responses occur as a result of the DNA damage leading to mutations, metabolism changes, metastasis, invasion, angiogenesis. Cancer is a big problem. And we don't have the answer to all cancers that affect the human body. And that is why we're trying to find new ways to treat cancers through research. Many different ways that we're looking at research nowadays, especially with respect to brain tumors. Here you can see how we're examining brain tumors in the context of molecular biology. But if you take Julian's tumor per se, which was a medulloblastoma, now at our hospital we are examining medulloblastoma according to its DNA alterations, the genomics, to the RNA alterations, which are the transcriptomics, to the protein alterations, which are the proteomics, and now there's epigenomics, which are the add-ons to the typical double DNA stranded structure that can influence gene expression. And then through functional validations, clinical correlations, and molecular subclassifications, we're now able to treat cancers better than ever before, which is taking us into a whole world of what's known as personalized medicine. Thankfully, the Hospital for Sick Children, as part of the University of Toronto, we have the Arthur and Sonia Labatt Brain Tumor Research Center. Thanks to a very generous donation from famed philanthropists Arthur and Sonia Labatt. It was the first of its kind in Canada. Arguably, it's the largest pediatric brain tumor research center in Canada and perhaps in the world. In this particular center now, we have over 100 individuals working on the problem of brain tumors. When I started in 1990, it was me and the bench, basically, but now we have a whole army, as I say, working on this problem of scientists, postdoctoral fellows, master's students, PhD students, research associates, and technicians. But we've also gone beyond our own borders, and we have a continental collaboration with our groups, our colleagues at Duke University in North Carolina and at the University of California, San Francisco. And why is that? That's because none of us is as smart as all of us. And by that I mean through team discovery, through discovery science, through collaborative science, we're able to push the boundaries further as to how we can help patients who have cancer, in particular with brain cancers and brain tumors. Well, as I conclude, I'll just return back to Julian. This is a photograph of Julian and his family. Julian is standing to the right of his mother, who has sunglasses on. Julian, I met 10 years ago when he was diagnosed with his brain tumor. He's now 18. He's graduated from the Hospital for Sick Children. He's been a survivor of his brain cancer. He's been a tremendous spokesperson for brain tumors and raising brain tumor awareness in our society. I have utmost respect for this young man and all that he's been able to achieve and accomplish going through the ordeal that he has been throughout his life. But what is our hope for the future? I think our hope for the future is the following, that if we were to deliver these really dreaded words to families, wouldn't it be nice if we could take them off the roller coaster ride? Wouldn't it be nice if we could use 6 other words that would help them in their anxiety and the ordeal of going through a brain tumor? Wouldn't it be nice if we could say to them, your child has a brain tumor, but it's okay because we can take care of it. Thank you very much.
Life as we don't know it. I can't think of a more appropriate topic for me to speak about, especially since my whole life I really didn't know what I was doing. And I think my daughters must have used their connections with this appeal to give us this topic. And you know, when I look at my life, I never thought I would have done what I did. And I think that innocence gave me the freedom to escape the quantum of reality and allowed me to do things that I never thought were going to be accomplished or weren't really on my radar. And I'll tell you why. Growing up in a Greek family, you know, I was very lucky. I was the boy, and I had all the freedom in the world. My 2 sisters, unfortunately, you know, had that old school, you're the girl, you can't do this, limitations. I didn't have anything. So my whole life, growing up, I had a stress-free life. I enjoyed playing tennis, hockey. I had nothing but happiness. I didn't have any girlfriends, so I didn't have any drama. I try not to speak to girls. And then all of a sudden, I finished grade 13 with some pretty good marks. And now I'm faced with this reality. What am I going to do? So my dad says to me, with about 3 weeks before school starts in September, and I didn't know to apply to any universities. I didn't have a guidance counselor. I never had a mentor. My parents didn't push me to go to university. With about 3 weeks left, my dad said, listen, either you're going to come work for me or you're going to go to university. Well, thank God I had some pretty good marks and I got into the university. And I didn't want to go work with my dad. My dad was a bricklayer, a very good stonemason. And he would punish me when I go work with him. He'd make me move stones and blocks. And my whole thing was I tried to irritate him and aggravate him so he could get mad at me, swear at me, and tell me to get the heck off the job site. And then I could go back and play tennis. So my dad didn't have that much more respect for me. But going to university, I thought to myself, listen, I better get some good marks and I better figure something out. So I started doing little ventures. And those little ventures became successful. And when you start making a little bit of money, it's amazing the way people's perceptions change of you. You know, they now start calling you these great names like entrepreneur. And I was doing all these little things, and I came home one day. It was around Christmas time, and there were Leaf tickets. Toronto Maple Leaf tickets were going for sale, and at the time, you have to go down to Maple Leaf Gardens at 60 Carlton Street to buy the tickets. So being entrepreneurial, I got there at 4 a.m. I snuck out of my house because my parents were strict that way. You know, so I snuck out of my house at 4 a.m., lined up outside on Carlton Street, and bought some tickets, got in front of the line. Well, when I came out of the Maple Leaf Gardens, I saw a lineup twice around the whole building. And these were all the guys that came late looking for tickets. Right away, just my natural instinct, because I really wanted to go see the Leafs play, but my natural instinct was, let me see if I can make some money here. So I started screaming. You know, and I'm a little kid from the suburbs, grew up very nice, middle class. I'm not a downtown guy, and downtown was a little bit dirty, and that area is not the best. But I start with some confidence. I start screaming, who wants, who needs, who wants, who needs, like the professional scalpers do. So everyone's looking at me, and next thing I know, I got all these business guys coming. And these business guys are coming, and they're asking me to buy my tickets. So after doubling them, finding that, yeah, I'm doubling the money, the price, then quadrupling, then I even sold some for 8 times what I bought them for. I said, wow, this is unbelievable. So seeing that, I noticed on the side of the road, and this will happen maybe once a year, but on the side of the road, I saw a little hot dog stand. And this little Greek kid sitting there, and every 30 seconds he was making $2 a hot dog, $2, $5, $2. So after finishing first year university, I said to my good buddy George, I said, we got to buy a hot dog stand. Not knowing anything, not researching, and you'll see this is a theme of mine. I just jump in the deep end, and then I figure out how to swim after. Because I think that if you know, that innocence, and I talk about this innocence, gives you a lot of power. So without knowing anything, if not studying it, I just said, I'm going to, looking at this kid making money, I did some quick calculations in my head. The next day I ordered a hot dog stand. When the hot dog stand was ready, I drove there with my friend to pick up the hot dog stand, and we didn't even know that we needed a trailer hitch. How were we going to pick up this thing? We had no idea of food preparation, no idea of food handling, no idea of permits or licenses or what corner we're going to go on. But we figured it out in about a day and a half. You know, if we sat there, studied the situation, did our research, probably would have never done it, but you know, it would have taken us at least a couple of months. But in a day and a half, that necessity, that power of necessity of having to get it done, pushed us through. We figured out that business to the point where we became #1 in Toronto. We used to put the hot dog stand outside of the Western Harbour Castle, and we caused so much havoc. We caused so much sales. There was cars coming, guys coming from King and Bay, all the way from Bloor Street to buy hot dogs from us. We were on the news. The Western Harbour Castle got so upset that they put their own stand out there to compete against us. with a proper chef, with a hat on. Well, we kicked his butt too. So when I finished, I went back to university, I graduated. Now I'm faced with an even bigger burden in reality. What the heck am I going to do? I wasn't a doctor, I wasn't a lawyer, I wasn't an academic. I mean, I just got a 3-year BA. But I was young, I didn't fool around, I did it in 3 years. So I was about 19, 20 when I graduated. And that's when recycling was just starting to come about. So again, I dove right into recycling. That innocence gave me the power. I dove right into recycling. I said, I'm gonna start doing this business. And that's when recycling was at its infancy. So no one really knew what they were doing. And I came in there, I started picking up materials with renting trucks and trying to make money doing it the proper way. Well, it just wasn't working. My mom was screaming at me, you know, saying, you're not sleeping. My dad's looking at me, he says, look, you went to university for 3 years and now you're a garbage man? What the heck's wrong with you? But I persevered. And then one day you get a lucky break. My lucky break happened when I was driving with my wife now, Anastasia. We're driving to a movie. Because we know when you're dating, all you do is go see movies. I was gaining weight because of all the popcorn I was eating in those days. So we're driving to a movie and I get a call from Maple Leaf Gardens. And they called me and they said, you know, we have this huge concert. 15,000 Jehovah's Witnesses showed up. And they didn't have proper requirement. They didn't put the proper things in place to dispose of the garbage. And Harold Ballard was the owner of the Maple Leaf Gardens at that time. And he used to save the garbage from an event. And they had an incinerator in the basement and burn it during another event. So the building gets heated. And people could drink more alcohol and more pop. So NDP government came, my good buddy Bob Ray said, no more incineration, no more burning garbage. So they had to figure out another solution. I was driving with Anastasia, going to see a movie, and I get a page. It's 977-1641. Oh my God, that's Maple Leaf Gardens. I call them back, they said, can you come down here and help us clean this mess up? The first thing I learned in business, and again, from all my other little ventures, was you say, no problem. So I go down there, and you know, my wife was great. One of the reasons we got married is because she said, go ahead, go down there. She even volunteered to take the bus home. So I went down there with my mom's K car, and I looked at a mountain the size of this auditorium, full of garbage of 15,000 people. There was pop bottles, there was everything in there, sandwiches. I look at this mountain. So I'm saying, what am I gonna do? I call my partner and really close friend. He lived in Scarborough. I said, get down here fast. So he came down, and I thought he was going to bring his dad's van. Instead, he came with the subway. But I looked at the mess, and I said, there was no Home Depot when they built the pyramids, okay? And I got this little K car. I don't need a truck to move this mountain. I'm going to do it with my mom's car. So I started putting the garbage in the car, in the back seat, in the front seat, on the windshield, driving, looking out the driver's door with garbage coming down and the bags pushed in my head and Jehovah juices going down my face. And I cleaned up that mess. And from there, Turtle Island Recycling was created. At the height, we had close to 700 employees, 350 trucks. Employed a lot of people around the coast. From coast to coast, we saved over 15,000 trees a day. And I just want to say that I truly believe that there's no higher power of knowledge and consciousness than innocence. I think in innocence, in being innocent, like who would have thought we would have taken the big multi-billion-dollar companies and beat them? If someone told me I could do that, I would never believe it. But our innocence gave us the limitless imagination, and that's where miracles happen. And that's our miracle.